Picture a worn path cutting across an open field, the grass pressed flat into a clear line that bends just so. No one drew it. No one marked where it should run or told anyone to follow it. It was made by ordinary footsteps, each walker simply going where the ground already looked easier and pressing it flatter as they passed. Step by step, with nobody deciding anything, a definite track took shape across the open grass. You can walk every inch of it and find no plan in it anywhere, only the small repeated habit of following what was already there. So you look for the hand behind it, a line that clear, you assume, must have been set down on purpose. Perhaps someone planned the route once, and the rest merely obeyed. Perhaps there was a first walker who knew the way and chose it for everyone after. Perhaps the ground itself was shaped in advance, a hidden design the footsteps only traced. Or, failing all that, perhaps it was simple luck, a track that fell where it did for no reason at all. Each guess reaches for the same comfort. A definite structure, the instinct says, must have been drawn, decided, or chosen by someone, and then followed. The behavior came second. The plan came first. Look closely at the walkers themselves. Pick anyone and watch what it does. It carries no map and holds no plan. It knows nothing of the whole track and nothing of the others. It only reads the ground in front of it and steps where the going looks easiest. The next one is the same plain thing. Nobody chose the route. Whatever shaped the track was never inside a single walker. It was in the mark each one left behind. So build the picture plainly. Lay out a wide patch of open ground and a crowd of these simple walkers, each reading only the ground beneath it. Give the ground one property. Where a walker passes it, holds a faint mark, and that mark fades again if no one comes. Let each walker lean toward the marks already there, however slight. That is the whole machinery. To follow it, watch one reading at the side. How far the most used track is pulling ahead of the rest. Begin small, so the plainness shows. Send a single walker across the empty ground. It leaves one thin mark that soon fades to nothing, and the field is bare again. Send a handful, wandering freely. They leave a scatter of faint marks, none stronger than the next, each quietly fading. With only a few crossings, and no track yet favored over another, nothing stands out. There is nothing here a careful look could not have told you in advance. Now watch what changes once the marks begin to matter. Suppose one faint track is trodden a little more than the rest, by some slight difference too small to notice. The next walker, reading the ground, finds that track easiest and takes it, and in taking it, presses it firmer still. A firmer track draws in more walkers, and more walkers make it firmer again. What they do to the ground now shapes what they do next. The doing has bent back to become its own cause. Two forces work on the ground at once. A crossing adds to a mark, and a quiet stretch lets a mark fade. A track that keeps drawing walkers is fed faster than it fades, and it deepens. The 2 or 3 rivals beside it, now passed over, are fed nothing and disappear. So the field sorts itself, with no one sorting it, a few used ways growing clearer, while the rest thin back into open ground. Use builds, neglect erases. Stay with that reading at the side, the gap between the leading track and the rest, because it tells the whole story. No walker has changed. Each still reads the ground and takes the easier way, just as at the start. And yet the gap has widened the whole time, the leading track pulling further ahead while the others fall away. Nobody widened it. It widened because each small advantage made the next one larger. The difference was never placed there. It was grown, a hair at a time. Let the keystone of it settle and hold the whole field in view. The walkers are countless, each still plain, still reading the ground at its feet, taking the easier way it always took. And running clear across the ground, a single definite track now stands, keeping its shape as though it were one deliberate thing. Look for where that track is decided, and you will not find it in any walker. Open any one, and there is only the small habit of stepping where the going is easy, blind to the route as a whole. No walker holds the track, and none even knows it is there. It stands only because the loop keeps turning. Each crossing strengthens the ground that draws the next. Nothing laid it down. No plan was written beforehand. It is alive, not built. Stop the walkers and the marks fade and the track is gone. The structure is real, running across all of them, kept by none alone. To be sure where the track really lives, break the one thing that matters. Keep every walker exactly as it is. Only cut the loop. Let the ground take no lasting marks, so a crossing leaves nothing behind and no walker can read where the others went. Do that, and no track ever forms. The walkers wander an even field, each going its own way. Let the marks last again, so each crossing speaks to the next, and the track builds itself back. The structure was never in the walkers. It lived in the loop between them and the ground. Two things hold here. First, none of this depends on footsteps. Let the walkers leave any mark a later one can read, a scent or a groove, and a structure of some kind builds the same way. The mark changes the picture, not the fact that a structure forms. Second, run it again from an even start, and a structure forms once more, but not the same one. A different track pulls ahead, and the loop carries it instead. Search the field, and no walker is in charge, none directing the rest. A structure always comes. Which one comes, you could not have said in advance. It is lawful, not magic, and never mere luck. Pull the whole picture together. Many plain walkers, each reading only the ground at its feet, a mark that builds where they pass and fades where they do not. A track standing clear across the field, held by no walker and chosen by none. You have been watching one thing turn the whole way through. What the walkers do shapes the ground, and the ground shapes what they do next, around and around. That circle, where a system's own effect returns to become its cause, is what we will call feedback. The behavior was never drawn onto the field. It was wound up, loop by loop, from small steps answering each other. Hold the two ways of seeing it side by side. Fix your eye on a single walker, and the world is plain, a creature with one small habit, doing nothing surprising. Pull back to the whole field, and something definite seems to be drawing itself, a structure selecting its own shape. Both views are of the same crowd at the same moment, with nothing added but your distance. The plainness is true, and so is the structure. The gap between the small blind step and the large standing track is the thing itself. Stay with what has happened here. By every sign, a deliberate structure has been laid across the field, and the eye still reaches for the hand that drew it, a planner, a first walker, a design hidden in the ground. But look again at all that was ever present. Plain walkers, one small habit each, and a mark that builds and fades, with nothing added and no one in charge. No habit changed. No walker grew complicated. No route was ever planned. Each small step only answered the one before it. Every step stayed small, the loop did not. Carry this back to the path you began with. A definite structure is not proof of a plan. When a system settles into some clear, purposeful-looking shape, the instinct is to hunt for an equally clear author, a designer, a decision, a route drawn in advance. But the source can be utterly plain, only simple parts, and a mark they leave that bends their own next move. So the thing worth studying was never the parts alone, nor some hidden planner behind them. It was the loop between them, where each small effect returned as the next small cause. And so the question worth carrying away is not how to command such a structure into being, which a picture like this can never promise. It asks only what loops back into what, which small actions return to shape the very ground that steers them. Reading it this way buys real insight, and it does not buy control. Knowing that a structure will form is not the same as being able to predict which one will form, or to steer it toward a shape you prefer, and no walker inside is trying to find a best route. The whole is a behavior, not a machine assembled to a plan. It is lawful, but not foreseeable, wound up by the parts, never drawn from above. Let the whole picture stand together. The many plain walkers, each reading the ground at its feet. The mark that builds where they pass and fades where they do not. The loop that turns each crossing into the pull on the next. The gap that widened, a hair at a time, until one track ran clear across the field, kept alive only by the going itself. There was never a planner here, and never a route drawn in advance. What looked like something laid down on purpose was always small steps answering each other. The steps were plain throughout. What they wound together was anything but. A crowd of plain walkers, each following the easy way and leaving a mark behind, can wind up a structure that none of them planned and none of them holds. Once you have seen a system build itself this way, a sharper unease waits behind it. If the parts are this simple, and the rule this lawful, and still no one could say in advance which structure would come, then the whole can do things its makers never intended and never foresaw. That is the next thread to pull, and it leads somewhere stranger.